You know, for thousands and thousands of years, humans have shared this deep, unspoken alliance with a totally invisible world, the world of microbes. Today, we're going to dive into that ancient connection, how we lost it, and maybe, just maybe, how we can get it back. So let's explore how we can reclaim that vital piece of ourselves.
Just take a look at this. You've got kimchi from Korea, tequila from Mexico, heck, even sourdough from San Francisco. I mean, on the surface, they seem like they're from completely different planets, right? But what if I told you they all share a secret, a hidden world that connects every single one of them? And that, of course, is the world of fermentation.
So what are we really talking about when we say fermentation? Let's break it down. It's basically a controlled process where we let helpful little microorganisms, bacteria and yeast, work their magic on our food. It's not about letting food just go bad, no. It's about a very careful, deliberate, and pretty amazing transformation.
Now, this is not some new health fad that just popped up on social media. This relationship we have with microbes is ancient. It's literally woven into the fabric of human history. So let's go way back to the beginning with our ancient microbial alliance.
Think about this for a second. We have evidence of people making bread over 14,000 years ago. That means we were baking bread before we were even farming crops on a large scale. Fermentation isn't just a cooking technique. It's one of humanity's very first biotechnologies. And as cities grew, so did the production of beer and bread. It really wasn't until the 19th century that we started packaging these microbes up into neat little commercial starter cultures.
And here's the crucial point. This was never just about making tasty food, it was all about survival. This quote here basically says that eating fermented foods gave our ancestors a real evolutionary edge. And you know what? Our own bodies tell this story. Hominids evolved a special enzyme, ADH4, to process ethanol from fermented fruit they found on the forest floor. And that was about 10 million years ago. We were literally built for this, long before we ever baked a single loaf of bread.
And this slide right here gives us a perfect picture of how we've co-evolved. Meet the superstar, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. This one little yeast is the unsung hero behind wine, beer, and bread. You see, just like we domesticated dogs and cattle, we domesticated microbes. We picked the ones that gave us the best flavors and textures, and in doing so created thousands of unique strains.
But this ancient, really powerful alliance, well, it didn't last forever. Somewhere along the way, the chain broke. So let's talk about how modern life led to what we can only call the Great Disconnection.
This slide really shows the stark difference. On one side, you've got the old ways, using a little bit of the last batch to start the next one, creating this rich, messy, diverse community of microbes. And on the other side, modern industrial production. We're talking sterile environments and just a few specific lab-grown cultures. The result is consistency, sure, but we've paid for it with diversity. And guess what? That change in our food is mirrored right inside our own bodies. The ancestral gut was constantly getting exposed to a huge variety of microbes, which led to high diversity and a really well-trained immune system. The modern industrialized gut, well, it's living in a sanitized bubble. It's far less diverse, a change that scientists are now linking to the rise in all sorts of chronic and autoimmune diseases. So what caused this? It wasn't just one thing. It was kind of a perfect storm of modern life. The overuse of antibiotics, living in hyper-sanitized cities, losing those traditional food practices, and honestly, just a simple lack of contact with the soil that used to coat our food and our hands.
At this point, you might be thinking, okay, so we have fewer bacteria. What's the big deal? Well, this is where we get into the real, hidden costs of living in such a sanitized world.
I want you to just look at this number. 246 sextillion. That's not a typo. It's staggering. And that's the estimated number of just lactic acid bacteria cells produced every year in only 7 types of fermented foods, like bread and yogurt. We are talking about a massive, invisible ecosystem that we have slowly but surely walked away from.
So what do all these microbes actually do for us? Oh, not much. Just about everything. They train our immune system, they fight off the bad guys, they keep inflammation in check, and they even produce crucial compounds like GABA that support our mental health. They are not just passive passengers in our bodies, they're active partners in keeping us healthy. Okay, so if these microbes are so critical and we've lost our connection to them, the next logical question is, can we fix it? And that brings us to the core idea here, rewilding your gut, or, as I like to think of it, tending to your inner garden.
So, here's the big question.
How can we consciously restore a connection that we've unintentionally been severing for the last 100 years or so?
The answer is to rewild. And I want you to think of your gut not like a machine, but like an ecosystem, a garden. Rewilding is all about getting back to nature's original sources of life, the probiotics, which are the good bacteria themselves, kind of like the seeds, and the prebiotics, which are the special fibers that feed them and help them grow. That's the fertilizer.
Now, a huge piece of that ancient microbial exposure came from something we hardly ever think about today, the soil itself. Soil-based organisms, or SBOs, are bacteria that live in the earth, and for most of human history, we ate them every single day on the vegetables we pulled right out of the ground.
So what makes these SBOs so special? Well, it all comes down to one word: resilience. You see, unlike a lot of conventional probiotics that can get destroyed by our harsh stomach acid, SBOs form this tough, protective, spore-like shell. It's like a natural suit of armor that lets them survive the journey and arrive in your gut intact, ready to get to work. But, introducing the right microbes is only half the battle. You've also got to feed them, and that's where wild prebiotics come into play. Think of them as the gourmet fertilizer for your inner garden. Things like seaweed and medicinal mushrooms have these unique compounds that specifically nourish your good microbes and help support your immune system.
All right, we've gone through the history, we've covered the science. Now for the most important part. What can you actually do about it? Let's open up your ancestral toolkit. This lays out 5 pretty simple but powerful steps. First, reconnect with nature, and I mean literally go get your hands dirty. Then it's about what you eat. Diversify your diet with way more plants and real, traditionally fermented foods. Actively bring in those soil-based organisms and wild prebiotics we just talked about. And finally, it's about what you avoid. Be mindful about stripping away your microbes with unnecessary antibiotics and sanitizers.
And the big takeaway here is pretty profound. This is not just some diet tip. By rewilding your gut, you are actively participating in your own health. You're reclaiming a piece of your ancestral heritage, a connection to the natural world that is written deep inside our biology.
So I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. In our modern rush to create this clean, sterile, predictable world, what if the most important thing we've forgotten is a vital, wild, and messy part of ourselves?